a hard time, and they had, they didn't have work for them, and they developed this CC camp, and they cleaned out all of the trees and all that needed to come down, and then they were paid a certain amount of money for it, and had a place to live and be with people and that. It was run by the government.
So where was his camp?
That was way up north someplace, but it doesn't say. It doesn't give the address, I don't think. But I remember when it was. So it was 1933. That was during the Depression years. There just wasn't any work, and nothing was growing. It was after the drought, and during the later part of the drought.
Did any of Grandpa's brothers go too, or was it just him?
No, I think there was only one from the family could go.
Oh, okay.
And then the money was sent to their parents, and that gave them grocery money or whatever they needed,
So Grandpa was what, 16 or something, probably?
Yeah, 1915 till 33 would have been maybe they had to be 18. He would have been 18 then. No, it just says Buesing, but there was another part of it. You want to go from the beginning?
Yeah.
See how much of it I know. Well, that's Mary Jo and David and Dud and Darlene, and it was taken one time after they were. See, they were Mary Jo and Dave were Flower Girl and.
Oh, at their wedding?
Yeah.
Wow.
And this was Dud and Darlene's 25th anniversary.
Huh. Wow.
So that's 25 years later.
So they're probably 30 or something, maybe?
Yeah, I suppose Mary Jo must have been around 7, 6.
Okay. I'll stay over here so that I'm not blocking it.
Well, that was Grandpa when he was a young man, but the question mark is who the others were. The chances are, because he has his brothers and sisters, they all had families, so it's probably one of their family. And that's under his Grandpa was 4-H steer that he took to the fair. And that's just the barns they had and the animals. I don't know, I think maybe it's Grandpa's again. It's just the farm. But I remember that was Grandpa.
gonna say it.
But it's some of the family that's putting up the apron. And there they're thrashing. That becomes a straw pile. And then of course the straw pile, the straw now is baled, but then we just put in a big stack like, and they used it as they needed it. That was on the north side of the farm.
So they didn't put it in the bales.
No, there was no such thing as baling. Just make a big massive straw pile and take from it very carefully so that it wouldn't all get wet. You know, the top part would get accustomed to the rain and that and keep, I don't know what happened to the straw, but anyway it prevented it from going through the pile unless it was just a downpour.
Right.
And that's Grandma Buesing, and I suppose probably the other, her husband's, or her sister-in-law, her husband's brother's family, and this is out on a boat. Fishing. Fishing, August 23rd, 1923, a wonderful fishing trip.
Does it say where it was?
No. Well, Lake something, let's see the, I don't recognize, or I can't see it well enough to know what it is. Is it Villard?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Because I just happen to remember there was a Lake Villard, but I don't know who it was in relation to Amaret or where they lived.
Yeah, Lake Villard near Alexandria.
Oh, I see, that was Amaret too.
Yeah.
So that was quite a trip for them to take them
All the way up there, yeah.
from Amaret to Alexandria. And that's Grandma and Grandpa Buesing and all their grandchildren.
Oh, cool.
Okay. April 29th, 42nd anniversary, but it doesn't say what year.
Oh, so who's grandma here?
That's Grandma Buesing and Grandpa's mom
Okay.
and her husband.
Heinrich?
Yeah. Or was it August or Henry? Now they're not guessing. I'll give you a say on here. I think possibly it was Henry. Because Grandpa Buesing's second name is Henry, so chances are it was Henry.
So this is Carol Henry?
This is Grandma and Grandpa Buesing and Arnold's son in the light suit and Herman's boy in the coverall. With their fucking years over there. This is a pretty good picture for that old.
Yeah.
And what the equipment they had to develop camera, after they developed pictures and that.
So did they have their own camera or did they have someone come out?
Oh no, they had their own camera.
Okay.
Somebody in the family had one. So it's a farm where Walter and Ruby lived. That was Grandpa's brother.
Okay.
They were the one that lived at China. this is Walter and Ruby and must be the kids. Okay. That might be why.
Do you want me to write it on there now?
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
So Walter, Ruby, and the 3 kids?
Yeah. That would be Richard and Merrill and Arliss. I think Merrill is done.
There's someone else in the car too.
Yeah. And that's Grandpa. That's Grandpa.
So that's Grandpa Buesing,
Yeah.
and this is
What's your Grandpa?
Carol?
That's Carol. Maybe that's a date on that one.
It's a really thick paper.
No, he's a farmer. Oh, he sure lives on the property.
Let me see. Huh.
And here somebody must have made a printing. I don't know what they call it. Tony Arnold. Delmer, Tony's kids. And foxes.
Hmm. You see the picture up there?
Yeah. And that must have been back in, well, in the 1920s.
Yeah. Wow. It's a lot of fox.
You wouldn't go fox hunting now.
Mm-mm. Did they eat the fox?
I have no idea.
Huh.
CC County.
Okay. These are some big trees they're cutting down.
Yeah. Well, it was a forest that had been trimmed, and I think they made roadways, you know, put in roads and all things like that. They had a lot of young men from town and from the farms and that, you know, there wasn't work for them, and
Mm-hmm.
they needed the money for the Depression time. It looks like it's earning. Ernie and Carol.
So what's, where in the line is Ernie?
Ernie was, Carol was the youngest, and I think Ernie was the next youngest.
Okay. Were they the closest out of, like, which brother was Grandpa closest to over the years?
To us.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Probably Ernie's because we've seen them the most, but it was just, they live closer by when we lived in Kempton. And Arnold was a little further. And Walter was at Tyler and somewhere in that, somebody was up at Tracy. And that's CC Kempton. And there's a that was my father and their sons, but Hank is missing.
So those are all the brothers?
Yeah. Because one missing and one of them is their dad.
That's a cool picture. So in springtime.
Yeah. Imagine when they were all home and cooking for that many, baking bread for that many.
Yeah. 8 was there? Or 11?
It was 9 boys and 3 girls.
9 boys and 3 girls. Wow. That is a lot of cooking.
Well, I think Grandma Buesing has to bake bread almost every day. Maybe in the winter time she baked every other day, but in the summertime, it would keep the bread, well, it was ate up faster than it would bake. Probably.
Yeah.
Just the same, has to be kept something.
I bet she had to figure something out so that as soon as it came out of the oven, she had it hidden somewhere so that they wouldn't just come
Yes,
up and
because
grab a piece.
With 9 boys and growing, we were all pretty hungry. I think this is nothing good. And this is all Carol must have been home from the service. And that's all right then. Peter isn't on there.
So what did you think of marrying into a family with so many boys growing up with all girls? Was it?
Well, I kind of knew the family,
Uh-huh.
From before, from 4-H and all, and I knew Grandpa from 4-H, and I knew of them.
Was Grandpa the last one to get married?
Yeah. He was May 25th, 44, he was on furlough before going overseas.
So that was, you were married that year.
Really married in March.
So this is, you weren't,
I probably took the picture.
oh. So this is after you were married, you were able to go out back home and see
Yeah.
family, and then did you
Well,
go back?
Before he was going overseas, we had a chance to go, because he was supposed to go overseas when he wanted to see me. Grandpa wanted to see me, and he was supposed to be going overseas then, and he was supposed to be going to Japan, and that's why he was out in Washington State. And I went out, and then the orders were changed, and what's the March, so April, and then he had a 30-day furlough that we could go and see family and that, and then I think they were on the ocean, if I remember right, would it be on D-Day or? Anyway, on one of the important days of the war, I forget the exact date and time. It seems to me that it was on D-Day. changes in the war, but they still, I don't know just how long.
So then you went back to Washington with them after he was shipped out then?
When he was shipped out, then well, we got to go home. We went to, I stayed in Marshall for a while, for that summer, I think. And then I went back to New Orleans and I started working in the factory in America. Went back to the factory. After everything. Yeah, I think it was on video, but,
Do you know what ship he was on?
yeah. And that's Marie and Grace and Grandpa and, we came to the cities,
Mm-hmm.
to see a little, and Marie happened to be home at the same time. I suppose that's why we came.
Yeah. Is that the house they built?
Yeah. I've just always been sorry Mary Jo Tootie. She took me to her doctor one time earlier this spring. And we went, she says, wanna go by Uncle Louie's house? And I said, sure, it's always good to see his house, see if it's kept up like he always did, because he just did not wanna sell it because he was afraid that somebody was gonna make a mess of it.
Right.
Keep it like he did.
And it was a corner lot too, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so we drove by, and here they were having open house. It was for sale,
Oh.
and we didn't stop. And we should have stopped, and said, well, my brother-in-law, my uncle, built this house for nothing, he would say, and was in it many times, and remodeled it, did most all the work himself and whatever. But then after we were going too far, then Mary Jo said, shucks, we should have stopped. I said, yeah, that would have been nice to surprise those people.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Did it still look nice from the outside?
Yeah, it was very well kept, and, with flowers and plants and everything all around it. So this is when he was in the service.
So he had a camera over there or something, didn't he?
Well, somebody had a camera. He was trained in field artillery in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. That was his first day.
So this is his letter home?
Yeah, that was
First letter home.
after he got in the service.
Can I read it?
Sure.
We should laminate this. I don't lose it. Oh, it's glued there. Wow. I'm gonna read it out loud.
I don't care.
Okay. Private Carol H. Buesing, Battery D, 7th Training Regiment, Field Artillery Replacement Center, Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Writes in humorous vein of his Army experience to his mother, Mrs. Joanna Buesing of Lind, in a letter that follows. Here I have been in the Army more than a month. Tomorrow they are going to transfer me to a different regiment. I guess we are getting too smart. I surely enjoy this Army life, but I do hate to get up in the middle of the night to go to work. We get up at 5:30 in the morning. We have to shave, wash, shine our shoes, and be ready to stand revel at 5:45. At 6 o'clock we have breakfast. The breakfast is good except the coffee. I think they make that of tobacco leaves. What the U.S. needs is a Secretary of Coffee, just like a Secretary of War, so a cup of coffee will taste like coffee. At 7:30 we go out and have our morning exercise. I guess they think we soldiers don't get enough exercise. At least we are getting a lot of muscle. After that we have drilling. A person really has to pay attention while he is drilling. You can't even chew gum while you are in rank. One fellow was chewing gum and his sergeant made him put the gum on the end of his nose. And if a person does not march right, they give you double time. I guess that is to take the kinks out of your legs. Well, so much for marching. After that, they give us a 10-minute rest. We don't smoke many tailor-made cigarettes in the Army because at $21 per month, you can't afford them. Most of the fellows smoke Bull Durham. Next, we have Cannoneers instructions and then another 10 minutes break for some more good old Bull Durham. After that, I go out for truck driving instructions. They take us out to a large field of about 50 acres. We almost need that much room to turn one of these trucks around. I sure enjoy the ride anyway. After that, we have chow. Well, Mom, now that I know why they were so particular about our teeth, I couldn't figure out why the doctors made such a fuss about teeth in the draft test, but it's all clear since I got some of the beef that's put in the stew. The cows must have been half elephant. We are going to write to Mr. Knudsen and see if he can't do something about sharper knives for the Army. After dinner, we have mail call. In the afternoon, we go through the same routine. A few days ago, they took us through the tear gas chamber. Some of the boys say they aren't homesick, but when I saw them crying like babies when they came out of that gas chamber. We'd have several gas drills with different kinds of gas. At 5:20 we have retreat. I guess that is just to see whether we are all still here. Then we have supper. It is about like dinner. I think the Army must have got a bargain on beans because we have them every day, if not 3 times a day. Well, Mom, I don't remember just what I have told you about this camp. There are 35,000 soldiers here. The camp covers a 50-mile square. There are 2 large mountains just on the edge of camp. The camp is located right in the Dust Bowl, and some days it is plenty dusty. Maybe I haven't written many of the good points about Army life, but we are well taken care of. We have plenty of clothing, good doctors in case you are sick, and plenty of good eats. Lights go out at 9 o'clock, so I better quit before I get caught in the dark. Goodbye, Mom, and write soon. I didn't know Grandpa was that funny.
Well, he could be. Maybe he had a little help.
Yeah.
You know, talking. Well, what should I say about this, or how should I say that, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose the beef they fed him at
Oh, yeah.
the Army was nothing like what he had from home.
No, that was all homegrown, well-fed stuff.
Yeah.
These are all pictures of the Army. I think those are the whole unit.
Mm-hmm. Getting lined up for dinner. The arrow is friend?
Yeah.
Oh, there's an arrow.
Yeah. That was. There was a couple of the guys that make up contact. There was one I still corresponded with, oh, maybe 3-4 years ago.
He was friends with?
He was, you know, one of the group, and they were the last ones left of the group. And they're all undergrad
Oh.
as their tenth.
No privacy there, huh?
No, no time to wait.
Yeah. So he did some mountain climbing. Where was he here?
Well, I suppose it wasn't in the mountains, it was where they were in France and
Yeah.
other place. And that's the barracks, so. I think this is Spiegel. Just two friends. I suppose this is Spiegel. He was a cattle driver. But there was one of the guys that I don't remember his picture. I know I had seen it at one point, but anyway, they were walking from one area. They had surveyed in this area, and they were walking from one area to the next area that they had to survey. And the guy in front of them, the serviceman in front of Grandpa and a couple others, stepped on a mine and was literally blown up in front of their face. And when in the afternoon when they called us and said that Carol was, you know, was slowly passing away, and we went, all of a sudden he sat up in bed. Otherwise he was just laying there and just hardly breathing. All of a sudden he sat up in bed and said, "Boats, boats, there you are, I'm coming. And that was a guy, Boats was a guy that had been blown up in front of him. And then that was it, he was gone. But he always said, you know, how hard that was to see him blown up like that. I mean, just, well, a few feet further, if he'd have been, his grandpa would have been a little bit further ahead, and the other guy, grandpa would have stepped on.
Right.
You know.
Wow.
And then the guys next to Boats were also affected by it, but I don't know if they also were killed or died at the time, I can't say. I don't remember anything.
Probably seriously injured if they weren't.
Almost likely,
Yeah.
and that was Mom and I.
I like that picture. Do you have a hat on, is it, or is it a...
Yeah, little straw hat we had in the summertime. Her parents and Mom and Dad played cards together, went places together. And that was where we lived on the farm. Mom taking care of the pigs.
It's a big group.
Bunch of neighbors in that. October 1920. Many of the dresses look modernized.
Yeah. Interesting.
And that was me on the porch. Did you see it?
Yeah.
My friends. flags like you see now.
Yeah. And what town was this in?
Right?
What town was this in?
Well, that was back then. They lived back then. And that was, I'd taken my cotton with my friend and dad to showcase at the fair. Which once a year we went to see them and those guys and before the fair time because they both showed hogs in the fair and helped each other with the showing. That was one of our hired men that we had in one of our farmhouses.
So he stayed on the farmhouse with you?
Yeah, he worked for Dad and he had one of the bedrooms upstairs, one of the two bedrooms upstairs. And my folks' bedroom was downstairs. This would be 1926. We had too much land to, and then with the chores and all, and the men worked in the field while Mom and I had to do chores, and I always had to watch Peggy, or be one, because she was, the littlest one and getting to mischief. And that was my dad's, I think, 1929 car, and everything was going
Great.
great.
It's like a nice car.
That was higher than my dad's car, about 1926. When we had, but ours had a roof over it with curtains, and we didn't have windows,
Right.
with curtains to keep the rain and wind out. But it looked a lot like that. Finally, I was off and saved my mom's line. We always had puppies. Didn't have any dogs, but we always had puppies to do.
That's better than dolls. Did you dress them up and stuff?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Did you name all the puppies? And
Oh, I suppose.
so if you always had puppies, did you give any of them away or did they just run
Well,
loose?
No, usually when they grew up, whether it was somebody that needed a dog. Dolly and June were a favorite team. June was the ones that my dad brought from Grandpa's family that he showed him 4-H. June was Carol's 4-H bracket. And I always had to help my dad show hogs. And always did a good job and got showmanship when I was showing alone in 4-H. And Grandpa always had to give me a bad time because I never could win showmanship and I always did. Well, he was in a different category, but I got the name anyway.
Yeah. So 1932, you were 17? 15.
15.
Yeah, 15. So what was life like at 15? What were you doing then when this picture was taken?
Working at home on the farm and in 4-H, going to school. What year was it on that?
1932. What did you want to be then? Like, did you know it? Did you? suppose you had to help a lot with your younger sisters.
I'm not sure, I was the oldest, so I was able to do more chores and that, I learned the chores, so it was, so that we could minimize how long and how often we were going to hire a man.
Oh, okay.
I didn't do it till I was 16.
Sweet 16.
And they kind of covered it up too, didn't they?
Yeah.
They must have been 29. And that was a room that was built onto the house. There was no heat in there, but our separator stayed in there, and they put the cobs and the wood and stuff that made it look good too. And there's a cistern right here.
So it's kind of a nice little area to store wood so that you don't have to go outside.
Me and the other shed, my dad, when we cut the wood and that, when we put it in, and when we shelled corn, that we put a lot of the bigger corn cobs in there. But,
Drinking a beer. What was the drinking age then?
my dad made his own beer, so.
Oh, really? I suppose that, do you still remember the smell? It has this strong smell.
And he was, the county agent once said I had to go to school because I didn't finish high school. And she got me a job in the city as well as a girl that we took care of. And that was his friend's sister. And Dad and Peggy. And my dad was his first.
What was your dad like?
Oh, he was typical. He was very social justice-minded person. And very thorough in his work. Always very thorough and ready to do it. And we had to be too.
Yeah. Was he funny or playful or
Oh,
that kind of thing, or more
well, in
work-minded?
those days, the folks, their parents never told the kids that they loved them or put their arms around them or anything. They just, brought them up and gave them what they needed, but never like they do now. I don't ever remember sitting on my dad's lap or seeing any of my sisters sitting on my dad's lap, except for maybe to hold him a few minutes between something else, but not to pick him up off the floor and sit in him. It just wasn't done.
Right.
And they just didn't do that. And, but my dad was a very gentle person. And he did his work well. I mean, he wasn't sloppy. He was a friend of mine when she got married. I was in that meeting. So we moved to Milwaukee in 1936. The farm my dad was renting, the landlord's daughter was going to come and live on it. She was getting married, and in the spring she was going to live on it. And he used to live at Kent at one time, and he moved to Moline, and we came farm, on his brother's farm, and he says, "Oh, Koopman," he says, "you got 3 girls," he said, "you don't have any boys, you have to hire the men all the time." He said, "Why don't you come and work in the factory?" The factory work was picking up again. So my dad went, and then that summer I went to visit my friend Robert. She lived in Moline, and when my dad told me not to come home, I was going to come home for corn picking time, and he told me not to come home, and he was coming to Moline and see what he was doing. So when he came, he said he was going to come back and come home and head sail and everything, so then I never came back to Minnesota.
What kind of factory was it?
With the Marine Iron Works, they made all kinds of castings for equipment that needed different pieces, to function. And I worked in International Harvester for a while. And that was the machinery, the equipment. But the Iron Works were just equipment for any kind of machinery.
Okay.
And these are all the girls that I worked with.
Something to drink?
Yeah, I
I
probably
noticed
could.
your throat was
Yeah.
low. Water, or did you want a little juice, or?
Water is fine, but if you want some apple juice, there's some water in the jar there, and I should empty out that jar. If you want some apple juice, take some apple juice for yourself.
So you're drinking from this jar, so I'm going to put some in the glass?
Yeah. I fill that jar all the time because then I know when I've emptied it and emptied the big glass that's standing alongside of it that I've drank a good 7 glasses of water all told with everything.
Wow, that's a good way to keep track.
Because there's 4 glasses in the jar, and then every time I take meds, then I drink more than a half a glass. Thanks. That was one summer when we came back to Minnesota and visited my aunt and then a friend of hers went there too,
When you would come back to Minnesota, where did you stay usually?
at my aunt's place.
Okay. So they had enough bedrooms, or you just have
In
cots?
a big house.
Oh, okay.
And that's a couple of friends, a friend of ours, of mine, Kakuda and his wife. And that's Peggy when she was little. And that would be a one and Penny. That's John's name. Peggy in Santa Claus. That's Peggy. I don't know who the other was. And my cousin. But every summer when I worked in the factory, they had inventory time, and then it was off for 2 weeks, so everybody had a vacation. And my dad also did, so that's when we always came back to Marshall.
That's nice.
That's what I was nurses aide.
Did you like that, doing
Mhm.
nursing?
It wasn't like we didn't do a whole lot. It was nice working in the hospital, doing what some of the other nurses could have done. And they didn't have any nursing homes then, so there was a unit in the hospital that had the elderly people that are now really, in the nursing home. Well, then with the war, there was a shortage of nurses, and then those people, a lot of the nurses they did have and did work, and liked to work with these older people. They were messier and they were, usually wet, but should have had diapers on and needed to be changed and whatever. And you wouldn't believe the neglect that a lot of those nurses, just things that they totally ignored that they should have done. And so then when I was still working in the factory, I'd put in 8 hours, and then I'd go and work in the hospital, and that was, unless I was given a specific assignment in a regular unit, I'd go in that unit with the elderly people and clean them up, give them little gallons of water, and that's so they could wash their face if they wanted to, or help them with whatever, because I couldn't stand it. Change their bed so they wouldn't be left, and I couldn't stand the way they were being treated. Because it was sad. I mean, sure it was a mess, it wasn't easy, but they were human beings who just, could have been their grandmother.
Right, yeah, and you would never allow that to happen.
So, those people.
Yeah.
See, Alice was a nurse's aide too, my sister.
Did she stayed in nursing then, didn't she?
No.
Okay.
None of us did. My cousin and my friend, his girlfriend, now she did marry him. And I think it was Alice. And my mom and Peggy. And then Andrew, my aunt's, he's my aunt's son. And then he came to work in the cities in the morning too, and he lived with us for a while.
So how did you like going from this farm town to the city? Was it a big change, or did you like all the conveniences, or was it noisy?
Never thought about it, I guess, You had work, you had money coming in, and that was one rule that my dad had. That, any money that us girls earned, we gave to him or to the family, and then they gave us spending money back. And that's two gals that I worked with in the factory, and that's Catherine Speece, and she calls me one month, and I call her the next month. That's our cigarette money. Because both of our husbands were heavy smokers, and
Did you smoke at all?
no. But I was accused by a doctor in 1970 when I had my physical. He says, you smoke, don't you? I says, no, I don't. And he said, well, I think you do. He says, you must smoke, you've got lung damage. And I says, well, I've never smoked a whole cigarette in my life. I says, maybe years ago when we used to go to a dance, I said, and between dances the guys would have a cigarette, and maybe I'd smoke part of one, and that I never smoked a whole cigarette. And he didn't say any more. And then before I left his office, he says, well, it would be a good idea for you to quit smoking. He still didn't believe me. But you see, the lung damage I had was secondhand smoke, and they didn't know anything about secondhand smoke then.
Wow.
And I was so upset with him because he wouldn't believe me. And I says, well, I have never smoked a whole cigarette, much less a package of cigarettes. And he just didn't say no more.
Wow.
Like that. But I'm so thankful. I mean, none of the family smoke, none of the in-laws smoke, none of the grandkids smoke, none of their husbands smoke.
Right now, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I know of anybody.
Yeah. Well, Grandpa told us, don't marry a smoker.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he said, don't even date a smoker. Don't even go out with one. I remember him telling us that.
Well, and I'm sure when I had my physical and all, my clothes all smelled of smoke because Grandpa smoked so much. They hang in the same closet.
Right.
We didn't each have our own closet or anything. It wasn't that available. And we were in the same room all the time, living room kitchen, whatever. It's-
He smoked in the house, probably.
Well, yes,
so.
he smoked a couple packs a day easily.
Yeah.
If I knew what time he got up in the morning and went to the barn, and then at night, when I went to bed, I could pretty well tell how many cigarettes he smoked because I was going to bed every 20 minutes, excepting maybe when he was between meal, you know, right after meal or between meal before, while he was eating a meal and that, but that was a good 20 minutes. And then when he quit cold turkey,
Yeah.
so that was good. And that was not easy to do, but he did it anyway, because he went back, there was a carton of cigarettes in the dresser drawer that was sitting in his porch, and there was one package out of it, and there was one package that was open in it that had one cigarette out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he went by that every morning, well, all the time, in and out of the house, and yet never once took a cigarette out of the one that was open either.
Wow.
And I never took any full packs. But he went from, you know, it was a strong 2-pack or better, because I bought a carton of cigarettes every week. I had to come out of the groceries first thing, and then sometimes if he went to town, or we went to town on Saturday night, and then he'd usually go to the liquor store, and if he was out of cigarettes that he had there, why, that he had with him, he would buy another pack there, so that was always an extra pack. And when he quit smoking, then I got him a bag of lemon drops, and told him to put them in his pocket, because, I mean, you know, he could be talking to someone that was automatically going to his pocket for a cigarette,
Right.
so that way he still had something to take out of his pocket until he got tired of the lemon drops.
He had a sore tongue, huh?
Yeah. It's but, then I had a little more money to spend for groceries or for other stuff, you know.
Yeah.
There was my grandma, my cousin and his mom.
So did they live with you guys?
They lived with me. I don't know how long, a year and a half or more. And then I can't think of his name now. He always would come out and bring me communion and that, and he knew that it wasn't easy for me. And then when Grandma was getting more and more help, was needing more help, when he used to be chaplain at the nursing home in New Ulm, and he got her in there, because otherwise, I mean, you could put your name in, but there was a list from here that Kingdom Come. You know, there was maybe, was there a nursing home in Redwood Falls, New Ulm, Wilma, and Ivanhoe, and those towns were all, you know, 30, 40, 50 miles away or more. They just weren't available, so it wasn't that easy. That's why a lot of them had to stay home and be taken care of, because it was until they started, well, they called it the poor farm, but that was for even people that didn't need nursing home care, that could go there and live if they had no place. Their parents maybe died and they had no place to live and no work, where they could go there to live, and they were paid a wage and had living quarters, but they had to work. I mean, that was a farm with fields to work in, horses, cattle to take care of, washing, ironing, baking, cooking, you know, for the women to do. And a lot of times where family and parents, grandparents would go there because they needed care, and they needed some watching over them, maybe help with medication, but there was no way that they could stay in their place or afford to keep their place full. And And then the same thing when Blanco was beginning to fail, I can't think of his name. Well, I don't get Christmas letters from him anymore because he passed away 2 years ago. But anyway, he helped me with that because he said, this is too much for you. But of course, my aunt could have taken Grandma and Grandpa in, but they had just built a new house and they were going to take vacations in that and didn't have the extra bedroom downstairs. And so I was the only one that had a bedroom downstairs and offered to do it. And because otherwise the option was going to the poor farm.
Right.
And that to my grandma was a shame, a scandal, because that meant you didn't work hard enough and save your money so that you could,
Oh.
you know.
But that wasn't the issue, it was just that the list was too long.
Sure.
So, what year was that?
Well,
Or about how old were you?
Kathy was born in August, and they came to live with me, I think, in October.
So this would have been your grandparents.
Yeah, my mom and dad.
Yeah.
My mom lived in Illinois, so she couldn't take them.
Right.
And my aunt was Edmund and Ivanhoe had moved to Marshall, where they had built a new house. And they were, uncle had a big family, and